Ahoy! We got some more information about how gearing in the expansion will work. This was from the new Balance of Power, which was filmed soon after the PTR, and the first thing that we were told is that the Regeneration Serum was OP on the PTR, no surprise there, but the other details are focusing on how to get gear as specific types of players. So the question that was asked first is how you get 700 gear score as a PvEer. For that, David recommends doing the Elysian Wilds main story quest, which ends at around 650 gear score, roughly, more or less. That's a good base level for the story mode expeditions that will come in the expansion, where you can get gear with up to 685 gear score. The open world gear scales with the difficulty of the mobs, so in elite zones the normal enemies will drop up to 690 gear score, and the named elite mobs as well as the chest drop up to 700 gear score. Mutations also drop up to 700 gear score, and the minimum level increases with the difficulty of the mutation. In M3, the minimum gear score that you will get is 695 and the maximum of course 700. Corrupted portals can also drop gear with up to 700 gear score. As a PvPer, things are a little bit different. Arena and Outpost Rush can both give you up to 700 gear score, but have a wider range, so you have a lower chance compared to, for example, M3s. That said, I think if you're just jumping into the expansion and you want to increase your gear score as quickly as possible, especially OPR is a pretty good way to do that. You get a lot of gear that is at least above 650, which may be quicker than some of the other ways, so I would not rule this out as a good starting point. Then from the new influence races, you can get caches that can also drop up to 700, and according to David, you also get a ton of salt and XP from here. He said that he wants these races to be very rewarding regardless of whether you're interested in the race or not. That was unfortunately not the case on PTR. I don't know if the rewards were bugged or they were just generally underwhelming and people were complaining about this. I have a strong feeling that this is something that they will likely sort out before the patch goes live though. So by then these will hopefully actually be very rewarding. Additionally, there's also the PvP track. Here you can get various very good named items, and every 10 levels also guarantees a 690 gear score item. That was odd to me. I figured that that would maybe be a 700 gear score item, considering it's only every 10 levels, which is comparatively grindy. Say, like, if we put it in perspective with a single M3 where you get guaranteed 695 to 700 and you get multiple items. So yeah, I'm hoping that they are maybe increasing that to a guaranteed 700 every 10 levels. I think that would be more reasonable. David also mentioned that all named items will be upgradable to 700 gear score with the new Matrix items. For crafters, they have the option to get 700 gear score best in slot with everything they want with prismatics crafting, with the prismatic scarabs, but David also pointed out that this is a very expensive pathway. Chromatic seal crafting is cheaper, can also get you 700 gear score, and apparently this has a daily cooldown. I didn't actually know this. I couldn't tell from the PTR faction shop, but it seems that the craft itself may have a cooldown of some kind somehow, and this only guarantees 2 perks. But then as another option, you can also reroll a named item's 3rd perk, that is the crafting with the matrices. Artifacts can be gained from a variety of activities, such as named items, expeditions, the quest line, PvP track, and corrupted portals, and even the season reward track, but those will be added to the general loot pool in Season 4 somehow. All artifacts drop at 700 gear score. A question that was asked was, why get rid of Resilient just to replace it with Health and Enchanted Ward anyways in terms of mandatory perks? David said the goal is to not have mandatory perks, and if one seems too strong, they will be looking at that and try to bump up other ones. David agrees that the pool is a bit more limited on armor, and health is generally a strong perk, but, I quote, "At least it's not limited to PvP or PvE, but useful for both, bringing the gear together." I'll talk about different armor perks and how good they are in more detail in the next days. If you're interested in that, consider subscribing and clicking the bell. They will be continuing to look at perks, and the goal is to not have one that clearly outshines others. I think they put themselves in a bit of a difficult spot with health there, because it's just such a simple all-rounder perk that I think a lot of people will intuitively gravitate towards, so we'll see how they can solve that. Somebody wanted to know what happens to expired craft mods. Those will be converted into attribute mods, and this is a random process. You can't guarantee a specific attribute mod, at least not on the PTR. The last question was about what happens to named items. Do we need to upgrade them to 625? This got an outdated answer. The real answer is that those will automatically upgrade to 625. This goes for the majority of the named items in the game. Unfortunately, this whole episode was recorded right after the PTR launched, so there weren't as many specific balance questions about anything PTR related, and he couldn't give us much more info, which I wish they would have just waited a little bit longer and recorded it then, but I guess they're probably in very last minute panic mode for the expansion right now. Tomorrow we'll finally be talking about trading tips for the expansion, so if you'd like to see that, consider subscribing and clicking the bell. If you'd like to support me further and get early trading tips, then you can do so on my Patreon. Thanks to all of my patrons who already do exactly that. And thank you for watching. SLOTH out.